was your weekend?
I made the mistake, not mistakes, I had fun, but went out to meet Miguel and a couple of other people from work to play some pool at 5, which was fun, but I basically got fucking hammered. I was there till like 11:30. And so then realizing that I'm pissed, stoned, and I've now got to stay up till 8 in the morning to watch all these fights was challenging to say the least. So I got through the early prelims, and then I fell asleep till like from 2 till about 3:30. Woke up in a panic and basically just like firebombed through all of the remaining prelim fights. So I've seen them. I know Kyla Phillips got a triangle submission. I do not know what happened to get to that point in the fight. I watched Casey King O'Neill. I watched her versus Roxanne. I watched that all the way through. And I watched about 2 minutes in total of Arlovsky fighting Vanderer. And basically was just like, okay, I'm pretty sure which way this one's going. And then the main card I watched, which I thought was very good.
Yeah, I fell asleep after Ulberg and then just watched everything else in the morning.
Ulberg I didn't watch as well. I just heard it was a very disciplined, safe, not putting himself in the same kind of risk and danger as he did against Kennedy.
Yeah. Given his debut, for much improved performance. Sharon definitely shit the bed in the third round, but what can you do? Henry Hoof was chewing him out. He's going to get cut.
Yeah, I was going to say he's not the level, unfortunately. Hey, not everybody is.
No, I think he's still young as well, maybe, or maybe just doesn't have a lot of miles on his tires.
He was a Contender Series guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he lost in the Contender Series.
I think the Contender Series seems to be the easiest way to get a contract in the UFC at the moment, but I don't think it's the best way to enter the UFC unless you're supremely talented to like a Sugar Sean O'Malley kind of degree. I think for some guys it's really good, but I think there's a lot of young, inexperienced fighters that they stock the roster up with, and I think a lot of those guys could be really good. It's just that they're not ready.
Yeah, here's the thing: like the fights on the Contender Series are difficult, and they pass on a lot of really good people. And because they're kind of, for the most part, kind of up and coming fighters, there's a bit of an unknown element. Sometimes they just look really flash in their Contender Series fight, and then they're really not quite ready. But yeah, it's definitely for them not the most lucrative way to come into the UFC. I'd say it's about on par with like taking a short notice, like a super short notice fight, to stop like a big name falling off a card. Like you're not coming in on great money.
Yeah.
But also the bar's not set super high. There's people kind of look at it more like it's the meat grinder. That's like their little feeder program.
I don't know. I just think, obviously, we're about to talk about Izzy a lot, but you look at the way that he did, and I know it's different with him because obviously he had the kickboxing career and all the rest, but even with that, he still had, what was it, 11, 12, 13 fights or something like that before he jumped to the UFC? It was more than 10. It was more than 10.
I thought it was like 8 or 9. That's reaching. I really don't remember very clearly.
I can probably tell you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. He's had 11 UFC fights, and his record is 22-1. So he was 12-0 coming into the UFC, and had 85, over 100 kickboxing matches as well. Like, I think that's the level of experience you should look to come into the UFC with if you really want to make a dent. I know it's not easy because obviously Izzy had a bit more money. He's got family money. He didn't have to necessarily pick the contract early on.
I mean, even when he came in, though, there was like hype around him, but it wasn't like anyone thought that his striking was going to be able to take him all the way to the top, and people didn't know about the whole like well-rounded game. But then there was, I think, his like first or after a second UFC fight, maybe there was like the moment that clicked for him in terms of just like what he was like outwardly saying to the media. Everyone in this division, like if they were going to beat me, they should have fought me like yesterday, or like, you know, something along the lines of like they've had their opportunity, like while I was still kind of like honing my craft, and that window is closed. Like,
well, it's not so much about hype though. And you're right, the hype built kind of after he joined the UFC.
oh yeah, but I mean, do you know what I mean? You can't say like wait until you've had X amount of fights, because even if they have that many fights, they're still not really going to know until they get there. And in a sport where you can get a lot of fights in quite early on out on the regional scene, just because there's such a huge disparity in talent, and if you're destined for the top, you're usually going to be on the lopsided end of like the better athlete or the better skill set somewhere that you can fight 4 or 5 times a year, because like you're going to get damage throughout the career just from the training and the sparring and the training camps. So like the perfect thing to say is get something like 12 to 15 fights on the regional scene, because if you keep winning and you're not taking a lot of damage, then you can just keep rolling one training camp to the next. You know, take a fight a month apart, 2 weeks apart. Sometimes guys do it. Like Thomas Almeida came in with like 20 something fights. There's a lot of like, yeah, you see it all the time. Guys like get something like 15 fights on the regional scene, and it's all in the space of like 4 years. There's like years where they're fighting 5 or 6 times a year, months where they fight 2 or 3 times a month. And if you can afford to do it, I think that's kind of the best way to kind of get some experience under your belt, even if you're not getting the minutes in necessarily. Like whatever the amount of fight time, the amount of fights, the actual minutes in the cage should be ideally like as small as possible, and get most of the experience through the training, and just try to stay grounded. But
well, there's an element of that, but I also think, I mean, I'll give you an example basically. So I'm not saying that you have to have, like, obviously there's, I get what you're saying about you never really 100% know when you're ready, but let's take Fabio Chiron. He would have gone in to the UFC at what, 6-1 or 6-0 when he went onto the Contender Series?
Oh, something like that, yeah.
Okay. And I'm willing to bet that he probably didn't have that many amateur fights. And I'm also willing to bet that he didn't compete in a different martial art competitively until he started fighting in MMA.
Has he got like a wrestling background? Perhaps, maybe not. He had 5 amateur fights, lost the first one, and then 3 subs and a decision. Oh wait, sorry, no, hang on. 4 MMA amateur fights, and then a Muay Thai amateur fight, and then 3-0 when he lost in the Contender Series.
3-0. Okay. So that first time he's going in at 3-0, he's going there having had in his entire life an amateur, all forms of combat sports, about 10 fights. And he's a young guy. These are the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about a Chase Hooper. I'm talking about, because I completely get it. If you're a Chris Curtis type, you've been plugging around the regional scenes, it's do or die time. This is your fucking moment. You know, you've seen a lot of different looks. You need to start getting some money in the bank, and this is your shot. I love the Contender Series. if you're that one in a, that diamond 21-year-old, you're going to come in and you're going to Sean O'Malley this thing, and you've got the right mindset, you've got the right athleticism, you've got the right coach with you, all these different factors. Okay. But it's the Fabio Charants, it's the 4-1, the 5-0, the 24-year-old, the 25-year-old. Because what happens is we might see a lot of these guys that came in, lost and got cut. We might end up seeing back in 4 years down the line, because they might just not have been ready. But to then get back into something like the UFC might be a harder track after having failed it than if they went to a smaller promotion, had those extra few fights, and then came in. Like, you're still going to have to learn on the job, but it's about coming in, being able to beat that first category of guys, the first people you're going to be matching up with. Because if you win a few of those, then you've got a little bit of more leniency if you start losing when the level jumps up. But it's, how many times do we see contender TJ Laramie, really good fighter, he comes into the UFC and it's like, you're just not there yet, mate. I can tell that you're not there, and you could be there, but are you going to get through those first 3 fights? With those 30 fights, is it going to be there in any of those, or are you going to go 0-3 and be out before you know it?
Yeah, it's like something like Bellator is perfect, because Bellator bring you on slowly, and they'll give you a lot of kind of similarly tenured guys. Like, you'll see a lot of fighters with like 2 or 3 fights going up against each other on Bellator. And they love developing their own product. That's like the perfect place for that kind of a little too much hype, too young, 3 to 5 fights in it kind of prospect. Like, and fucking Aaron Pico.
Aaron Pico. On top of that, generally, with the exception of a Conor or an Izzy with his latest contract, all the guys that get paid the best in the UFC usually came over as having been successful in other promotions. They forced them to set a standard of pay. And Michael Chandler's 1-2. Depending on how his next fight goes, he could have lost 3 of his first 4 fights. And he's earned more money than most other people in their first 4 UFC fights.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But not everyone can be like Michael Chandler or Ben Askren.
No.
Do you know what, back in the day, like the golden ticket was to be on a really ridiculous, obnoxiously obscene contract with another organization that the UFC wanted to buy out, and you just got 2P'd over, and it was just like the best thing ever. Like Mark Hunt getting paid out the arsehole, 500 fighter.
There you go.
That was the one back in the day.
So that's my only feeling with the Contender Series. Having said that, shall we crack on with the show?
Yeah, that's that.
Hello and welcome back to the MMA Split podcast. I am Matt, your host as always, and I'm joined by...
I'm Josh.
We're Also host. I don't know, I feel like I do the introduction that settles me into like a host role, and you're kind of like the more seasoned, knowledgeable experts that then gets asked the questions. See, I made you feel good about not calling you the host.
Yeah. I was just steering it away from guest. Like, that was the implication I read into it.
Would you like me to change it to co-host?
Vice executive host?
Executive host, I like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or presenter, producer?
Yeah, let's figure it out with Sly. We'll figure
Leave
out
it in the comments, guys. Leave it in the comments. What do you want our titles to be?
Not leaving it to Dave.
Absolutely I want some comments, man. Our videos need more comments. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'm going to start saying this at the beginning, guys. Even if you only just watch it for a few minutes, just hit the like. We get a few views. Nobody ever clicks the like button. Leave a like. Leave a little comment. Talk about whatever you want. Talk about your opinion on the fights. We got some fights to talk about. We got UFC 270 to break down. Being the American football fans that we are as well, pardon me, we will have a look at a quick recap of a pretty good NFL Super Bowl Sunday with a pretty damn good halftime show. The result was not the team I wanted to win, but you know what? It was a great game and a great end to the game. So lots to cover, bit of news as always. We will, of course, start at UFC 270, the anticipated Australasian rematch, although Izzy has definitely stopped letting the New Zealand crest or flag be mentioned anywhere around him. He is adopting his Nigerian heritage to its full degree, and after his experiences recently with New Zealand and their regulations and their lack of support for New Zealand MMA, I can certainly understand that. He was, of course, taking on the man that he took the belt off from, Robert Whittaker. First fight was a very one-sided affair. Robert made massive improvements to get back into this title shot. 3 of his best performances in a row. We wondered whether or not it would be enough to turn the tide. The real question I've got for you first, Josh, is who did you think won?
Oh, I had it for Izzy. It's a close fight. But I actually gave the first 4 rounds to Izzy and the 5th to Rob, but the 2nd and the 4th were really, really close. I can kind of understand that, Rob felt he'd done enough. And I totally get people saying that, they feel like Whittaker won. For me, honestly, watching it back, I'm kind of really thinking that although 49-46 kind of flatters Izzy as a result, that's how I would have scored it. I'm absolutely fine with a 48-47. I don't know if I can give the 2nd round to him. I feel more confident that the 4th, maybe the 2nd, still not as close as I thought it was on the rewatch, but it's still a fucking close fight. Yeah, man. Rob made the improvement. Rob did what I thought he was gonna do in the first fight. Of course, going into that first fight, I still really hadn't begun to appreciate how good Izzy was in all facets. I still had it in my head that if you get on the inside and force him back, his chin is there. If you've got nice hands, which Gastelum, kind of caught him a little bit, or like Rob, you've got that versatile attack and you can throw in the level change. I really don't know if Rob will ever beat Izzy. It is real. They're right there, 1 and 2. It's close, but for me, I'm just forever just blown away at how good Israel Adesanya is.
I thought this was razor close. When I watched it, I thought, so Izzy obviously wins on unanimous decision. I can
How
understand.
Did you score it?
At the time, I thought Izzy won the first 3 rounds, but I wasn't sure about round 2. If anything, I'd say you could say round 2's a draw. At the end of it, I kind of figured he was going to get the nod. And I was talking to Elliot about this on WhatsApp, and he was kind of saying the logic of, he kind of still thinks you got to really take it to the champ to take the belt. And I'm not a big fan of that viewpoint. I think if you win a fight, you win a fight. It doesn't matter whether or not it was convincing enough to take a belt off.
But the judges have proven that is a myth. I've seen lots of close fights go to the challenger.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying I don't believe that logic should be the case.
Yeah.
It's however, what I do feel is that I think the last 2 rounds are Rob's. I think he started really badly. Really, really badly. He looked fucking nervous for that first round. He looked like a guy that was facing the guy that knocked him out. And it wasn't, he wasn't quite there. And Izzy was very good. That momentum definitely shifted in the 2nd round. But certainly if I think about like the first 2 minutes of that round, it was all Izzy still. And he was landing nasty leg kicks. And it can be difficult to tell sometimes with the leg kick because it doesn't have that kind of visceral impact and sort of resonance in your memory as sort of a really well-timed sort of shot to the stomach or a headshot, sort of resonates. But it can be just as effective. If you look at Rob's leg, through the first round and the 2nd round, that is effective striking. I mean, that is damaging, significant strikes that you have to be scored. Really, I could see an argument for Rob winning the 2nd round, but my argument would be when it's that razor thin, when you're tossing a coin in the air as a judge and marking who you think the round went to. I don't blame anybody for going with the champion if you feel like you just cannot differentiate between the two. And particularly when it's, you're measuring leg strikes against fewer headshots, and then you're trying to measure what a takedown value has against more shots landed, where the takedown
Did he do anything with the takedown in the second?
Exactly, doesn't really do anything with the takedown. So
honestly, by the scoring criteria, it's almost null and void.
So it's a horrible one because Rob has every right to feel that he won that fight. Izzy has every right to feel that he won that fight. Either guy could have had that same performance and on a different night been given the opposite result, with all other things being the same. So Rob's saying he's proud of himself. He definitely feels he's won. What I would say is that I thought he executed a really good game plan, but I still didn't think he did enough. There was a lot of inactivity. I get what he was trying to do. He was trying to position Izzy to come at him from a central position in the cage so that when he landed the takedown, he could have him down in the center where he's more likely to be able to establish control. But that led to him being so cautious. And obviously Izzy's giving him so many different feints, so many different looks. He's looking to try and set something up. No, I don't like that. I'm confused, and reset and reset and reset. That, fighting Izzy's not easy.
Yeah.
But what I would say is he certainly found that groove. I thought once he kind of figured out enough of what he needed to be able to get those takedowns, he looked really dangerous. I don't think Izzy, I'll rephrase that. I think Izzy is starting to struggle with the weight of being a champion because he was a little too safe for my liking. That fourth and fifth round, the fight was slipping away from him. He wasn't taking any risks to try and reestablish and confirm 100% I've got this. It felt like he was relying on, I've probably got those first 3 rounds, but he's fighting like a guy that just signed a multi-million fucking pound, multi-fight UFC deal and doesn't want to lose his belt. And I don't blame him for that. But you look at that second Vettori fight, you look at this, you look at elements of the Yarn fight. I'm not quite seeing that same Izzy to a certain extent. And I feel like although Rob improved as the fight went on, I think Izzy kind of led him back into it a little bit.
Well, that's the thing. Rob really started to get a feel for the distance and the footwork. So, like you say, like in the first round, definitely gave him too much respect and took a little too long to kind of start getting a read on Izzy. But once he did, he was kind of able to build and get more effective as the fight wore on. He couldn't take the chances, so he couldn't barrel in like he did in the first fight. Izzy knows the second round's second, but probably figures he's up on the scorecard, so he doesn't need to do anything stupid and give him an easy takedown. It's a very respectful, almost chess match, but only in terms of kind of like the distance and the footwork, because once each guy kind of gets into his wheelhouse and does his thing, there's no real outthinking him at that point. It's either you pick the right moment to come in, his feet land where you want him to be as you're ready to move in, perfect. And it's going to be very hard for the other guy to counter or defend effectively, but it did make for no, I don't want to say it's not like a tepid fight or anything. It's a great fight. It's just that both these guys can go fucking lights out. And this is like what Darren Till was talking about after the fight with Whittaker. Like, I've never been in a more stressful fight. Just constantly having to be completely switched on.
Yeah, high fight IQs.
And yeah, man, you make some good points about Izzy and the weight of the belt. It's like Lord of the Rings. Everyone kind of slowly becomes Gollum. Even Frodo needed Sam to carry him up the mountain. I'm excited for the new Lord of the Rings thing coming.
I'm less excited, man. We'll talk about it when we get to the SuperBowl section. We can talk about all the movie trailers. I'm way more excited about Lightyear. Anyway,
yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how Izzy kind of copes and maintains. That's the fucking heavy lies the crown.
Well, you know what?
Rob looks like he's having more fun out there.
I'll say this: you touch on the Darren Till fight, and I think maybe I'm not giving full consideration to all the, the problems and the chess match that Robert's able to play. And one thing we were talking about in the pick show is we were talking about Rob needs to be able to give the same amount of problems and options and threats as Izzy does by combining the wrestling. And once he did that, it gave him that leveler to a certain extent. It gave him an ability to set Izzy up and catch him, caught him with that left hook a couple of times, got that drive and double leg takedown. Fuck me, by the way, Rob is a really good takedown wrestler. Yeah. Really, really good. That double leg takedown was money, man. He fucking ran through it. I was looking at it thinking, man, that's some fucking rugby in your youth coming into fruition there. But it is interesting. I mean, and I'll give them credit for that. That is maybe Izzy kind of realized, like, fuck, this guy's actually throwing a lot of questions back at me here. This isn't quite as easy as just like step in and land the right hand. So I'll give Rob that credit. What I would say that's very interesting though is for 2 fights in a row, it's been Izzy against somebody in a rematch. And in that 5th round, said person, Vettori and now Whitaker, has got down to the last 30 seconds and they're just not just letting it go, just trying to absolutely win. They're both holding Izzy pressed up against the phage, kind of either punching his thigh or kind of punching the side of his arm. And it makes me think, like, what does this guy do to you mentally? That it's the last 30 seconds. And so much of you would think, just let go. But maybe they're just like, I've got him. I'm holding on to him. It's something like I've taken so long to get to this point.
No, but both times it's because they thought, well, this is just my victory lap. I've won this fight. I've got the rounds in the bag. I've won this. Now with Rob, that's not completely misguided, but perhaps not. I mean, I don't think he's going to finish Izzy if he changes it up there. And I think he's already won that round. So either way, like, it wouldn't really matter too much. With Vettori, though, that's just like a pig-headed moron, just being stubborn as shit and just so dumb. He did not.
Yeah, I was going to say
that's why I like what you're saying, and I'm like, oof, be interested to see like if this becomes a thing moving forward. But with Rob, I'm like, do you know what? He's just thinking, I got this. I got my belt back. And with Vettori, God love him, he's like, oh, I've got a belt now. I fucking won this.
Yeah, and you make a good point. You make a good point. He had won that 5th round. He's not going to finish him. There's no more activity that's going to make up for the rounds that are already decided. At that point, you just don't fuck up the rounds that you've got, which I do understand. It's fucking tough though, man. We're going to get to this point in the UFC, dude. We're already got this in featherweight. I think we're going to get this in at least 1 or 2 other divisions. But what happens if Rob just, beats Darren Till again? Beats Hermanson?
Yeah.
Beats Sean Strickland? I mean, Sean Strickland, I think they'll save and they'll keep him as the next option. I think they like him as a potential moneymaker to fight.
You don't think he'll fight Rob next?
No, because I don't think they'll give themselves the headache of we've got this potential contender and what happens if he loses to Rob and then we're back at square one. For Rob, I think what they'd look at is, I think Rob can sit for a little while, and then I think it's a little crazy, and I know they fought before, but you give Brunson a phone call, you say, I know you said you only wanted 2 more fights and you just lost, but hey, fight Rob, you beat him, you get the next title shot.
It feels like a reach to me, but I don't know. Jesus Christ. Who else have we got?
Dude, there's not a lot, man. Like, a lot of these middleweights have fought and beaten each other or lost to each other.
I'm taking a look though. Do you know who'd be might be a good shout?
Anthony Smith.
More of a reach than Brunson. I wasn't thinking Anthony Smith. I was thinking the little weird armbar whiz kid Andre Muniz. He's got a number next to his name. That number's only 13, but he's got a number next to his name. He needs an opponent. Imovov's booked against Uriah Hall, maybe. I know Nasruddin's got a fight. You told me this on the last show, I'm pretty sure.
Imavov, it might be. Uriah Hall's fighting someone, man. I can't remember who it is. It's either him or Gastelum fighting him, Evolve? It might be Gastelum.
Oh yeah, it might be Gaston.
I think it might be Gastelum.
Gaston.
I don't know if
Anyway,
Rob wants to drop down to fight somebody at 13. We're going to talk about a guy who fought somebody way below his ranking, and it didn't work out very well for him.
true, but Rob was the one that kind of fucking marked
I'll beat anyone
Jacare,
apart from
and if I'm Rob, I know that the next fight's not going to get me back there, especially not assuming Izzy keeps winning. I'm going to have to win a couple. This win could very much age well. This could be the right time to beat this kid. I don't know if I say no to it. It depends how much money they're giving him for it as well, to be fair. Because it's not like that's going to be headlining a card anywhere. But when it may be a fight night, but even then, like you want a bit more money than that. So
that's a good point. I'll tell you one thing that was cool about the fight, though, is I feel like Rob really earned the respect of Izzy. They seemed a lot more amicable. Maybe not after. Maybe that was because Rob thought he was about to get his belt. But I don't know. It was one of those things where it's like
there's more respect from the build-up.
Sorry.
Like it was more respect from the build-up. I think it had already started to turn. But yeah, definitely. I think in the fight, I think both guys are proud of that fight, that performance. It's not highlight real stuff, but that was a really, really good championship fight.
I think also Izzy, because of that competitor in Izzy and that chip on his shoulder, I don't think he respects people as much if he beats them easily. I think there's an element to that. Like the fact that he was so cool with him afterwards, I think he was kind of like, fuck man, you're at my level. That was awesome. Good fight kind of thing. Like you've earned my respect in a way that knocking him out in 8 minutes didn't 3 years earlier.
Yeah, well, he didn't fight well in that fight either. He didn't give him a reason to respect him in that fight. There was no patience, no build-up, just here's my face. And it was better than that, but it was so much worse than the Whittaker we know and love. And this was a really, really good Whittaker performance. Obviously, his best performance is when he actually manages, like when he catches someone, they go down and he follows them down and just pounds them out. This is, but you got to get a little lucky for that. Still, great fucking fight. Good on you, Rob. And he's going to climb the mountain again. I'm calling it.
Well, we'll talk about what's next for Izzy when we get a couple of fights down to his most likely next opponent. Let's look at this co-main event because really this was the big boys going at it. We both picked Derek Lewis. We were both wrong.
Yeah.
I got so much respect for Tai Tuivasa.
Didn't look like we were going to be wrong.
You know what though? I kind of thought I knew Derek Lewis would have the bigger power and be the harder hitter, but I kind of thought that Tai Tuivasa can probably take the punch better than Derek Lewis. And fuck me, that turned out to be true because Tai Tuivasa had to eat some shots. He got fucking trip takedowns, hip thrown, which is two things I never expected to see Derek Lewis perform in a Derek Lewis fight. That was amazing. Ground and pounded to the point that you just don't think that there's a way he's getting up off the ground.
No.
And then still he gets up and he's just swinging back like a madman. But at the end of the day, he hung in there. I mean, he got wobbled every time he got hit, but it's fucking Derek Lewis. What can you expect? And then he just waited for that moment. And he landed one elbow. That rocked him. And then the second elbow, just gone. And fair play to Tai, man. I do not know. I will not say that man cannot be world champion. If you can knock out Derek Lewis, you can do fucking anything.
Yeah, well, he had a good game plan, sometimes you talk about being all the way out or all the way in. His game plan was just all the way in. And it was good. It was effective. I didn't think he was going to win that fight. In fact, I didn't like you say, that ground and pound off the second takedown. I thought the fight was going to get stopped. Tai Tuivasa, FTA boys, fucking hangs in there. That elbow was nasty. And I feel bad for Derek because that's a loss to Tai Tuivasa and a loss to Mark Hunt.
He doesn't like fucking soupy bangers, mate.
No.
Here's what I think.
Do you think he can do this to bless you? Do you think he could do this to Garn, Ngannou, or Curtis Blades?
In reverse order, Curtis Blades, yes, but
it's a bad matchup.
Cyril Gane, I actually think he has the potential to match up well with, because the thing about Tai Tuivasa is he might not be as explosive as Derek Lewis, but he's got way faster hands. And he can move around well enough. He knows how to check kicks. He throws heavy leg kicks himself. And he's somebody that, one thing I'd say with Derek Lewis is he's good at being the bully, but if somebody else pushes him around, it doesn't necessarily, he doesn't always respond very well. Whereas I don't think stuff like that phases Tuivasa as much. So I think Tuivasa would be willing to take more damage and chase somebody like Gane more to land something heavy and wouldn't get discouraged in the same way. I think he'd be able to be a little bit more effective when he got in close, because one thing I'd say with Tuivasa is he can demonstrate his power with short shots. The elbows that rocked and then knocked Lewis out. These weren't big swinging elbows. He's fairly close, but he's still able to generate that kind of force. And you can get close on Cyril Gane in certain moments. It's just somebody like Derek Lewis kind of needs that space and needs you to kind of be coming in when he lands, or kind of have enough space and width to really generate the kind of momentum, or have you on the ground. And he never really got that situation with Gane. So I think he could beat Gane. I don't know if Tuivasa could beat Blades, because you kind of need to be able to knock Blades out with one shot. You need to catch him as he's coming in. If he's not out with the first shot, he's going to get the takedown and he's going to recompose himself while he's lying on top of you. And he's not going to be an easy guy to get up off the floor. So stylistically, probably not. Ngannou, man, fuck. If there is one guy that is just going to go in there and not give a fuck, not be as dumb or as static as Jairzinho, but have a willingness to fucking punch the bully in the fucking nose and stand in there, and probably has better hands, it might be Tai. Fuck, man, he knocked out Derek Lewis. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
And he's just crazy enough to get into a swang and bang with somebody like Ngannou. Just crazy enough. Be a fucking fun fight, mate. Be a really fun fight.
Hopefully.
Or it's over in 30 seconds, but...
Or Ngannou takes him down and just does the old lay and pray. Because Ngannou can do that now.
Yeah. Okay. And if Derek Lewis can take you down, then many people can take you down.
Yeah, and what? Ty's on a good streak. But there'll always be that sort of stretch where he lost to, not an over the hill, but a declining JDS, Blagoy Ivanov, who is a good fighter, and Sergey Spivak, who's not a bad fighter, could be a good fighter, but still. And he has changed camp since then.
He's improved.
He does look a much livelier fighter, but
he's improved a lot.
I'd love to be proven wrong, though. Honestly,
listen, man,
no one would be happier than me if he got a title shot.
This main event was one of these weird fights where I fucking love both fighters. I don't really want either guy to lose, but I'm going to be happy with either one winning. And I'm fucking delighted for Tai. He's entertaining as shit. Did you notice that they didn't broadcast? They cut off him when he was doing the shoey. So they're now clearly being like, okay, clearly people noticed it was water. We're not going to try and do that stupid spiel, but we can't let you do a shoey in the octagon on television. But the fans obviously love it. So you'll do your shoey, but we're just not going to broadcast it.
Fair enough.
I'm not against that.
I haven't seen the video. Didn't Dana White do a shoey?
He did a shoey, mate. He did a shoey out of a Tuivasa. He did not look like he enjoyed himself.
Hey, who do you reckon Ty's going to fight next, by the way?
depends if they jump him all the way up to 3.
Well, even right. Ngannou's going to sit. They're going to do an interim title. It's going to be either Jones Miocic or Gane versus either Jones or Miocic. And then...
Well, the thing is, I would have said Blades. And Blades has a fight coming up, I think, quite soon. Maybe even this week. I haven't done the picks. We haven't done the pick show yet. It'd be really bad if it's this week and I don't know.
Isn't this week?
It's not the main
Strickland.
event.
No, it's Walker Hill. It's not the main event.
Hill.
Oh.
But it might be the co-main. I'm not sure. We'll check the schedule, but it's a fight coming up. So they're going to be ready at similar times. I would have thought somebody like Volkov, but obviously he's fighting Aspinall in London. Maybe a Jairzinho? I mean, fuck it, you know. You're taking on the big boys. Fucking clean shop.
Oh, shit. It is the main event. It is March 26th. So, what, 6 weeks away?
Okay.
And it's Chris Daukaus.
That's the one. That's a fucking tough fight for Chris Daukaus.
He's got a ground game, but Curtis on top of you is just nasty.
I think he's going to be a fox on the run in that fight.
Yeah, Watson Hebus is the co-main.
Got it.
Askarov, Cara France, Matt Brown, Barbara Rayner. That's a good card.
Good card. To answer your question, though, we'll see. I think we need to see how the Aspinall-Volkov fight lands. I think we need to see how the Blades fight goes. Get a bit of clarity of what's happening with the heavyweight title picture. But he's in that mix, man. He's going to be in the top 5 no matter how you look at it.
Well, if they go Stipe against Bones, just paying ridiculous amount of money and stick it on a big pay-per-view for the interim, do you reckon they could put Tuivasa against Gane?
They could do that. The only thing I think is I don't know whether or not they'd want to go in that direction with a bounce back fight. They may look at Gane and take... See, in many ways, I feel like Gane should fight Blades. Because I feel like Blades is a test that... And I don't want to describe him as a gatekeeper, but it sounds like I am describing him as a gatekeeper. But I feel like if you want to have a shot at the heavyweight title, you need to prove that you can answer that you can solve the riddle of Curtis Blades. Because really, he's the only guy in that high level elite sphere that is a real true takedown wrestler, grinds you out. You've got to have that side of your game ready. And it's a test that Gane didn't really get asked until he fought Ngannou, and he didn't really pass when Ngannou gave him that problem. So let's give him a real test on it. Because what I would say is I think we've seen that Gane, and I do think Tuivasa would have a better chance than Jairzinho or Derek Lewis did. But we have seen Cyril Gane deal with the heavy-fisted knockout guy. My feeling is that he needs to answer a different problem.
Yeah, and we know that Curtis Blades can't deal with the heavy-handed guys. So, you know, if you take away Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou, Curtis Blades looks pretty fucking good. Not exciting, but
he's undefeated, isn't he? If you take away those 3 fights.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, if you're stupid enough to fight Ngannou twice and Lewis, you're gonna have some blotches. Not if you're tied to Tuivasa, though. Not if you're tied to
Tuivasa. Let's move on to the fight that I thought was going to be the co-main event, but obviously they wanted the big boys to get some extra PPVs into the mix. Cannonier against Derek Brunson. I thought Brunson was going to get this done. He did not get this done. Brunson got very tired, like disturbingly tired, faster than he usually gets tired. And he usually gets tired pretty fucking early in a fight. But for a 3-round fight, it's fine because it's only 3 rounds. he was fucking done after the first round. It's like he'd won it and just been like, well, that was my best effort.
Yeah, he looked like a guy that before the fight said, I'm only going to fight maybe 3 more times. You know, people don't say that for no reason. I mean, you get a guy like, so Paul Craig is pretty adamant he's going to retire when he's 35. So his next fight may very well be his last fight. But Derek Brunson, I don't think had a day marked on the calendar. And he was like, by the way, just so you know, I think it's getting close. This is a guy that is finding it tougher and tougher to be at a high level in the sport, I think. And yeah, he looked like a guy that's getting tired. He is getting old. Yeah, this
Everyone was talking about the power of Cannonier afterwards. And my argument would be that the reason that Cannonier landed is because Derek Brunson just slowed down, became immensely hittable without really, like, he was still getting clipped a little in the first round, but he was shifting away from the power. He was moving back with it. And he just looked so slow, so heavy-footed. It became so much easier for Cannonier to land offense because the takedown threat wasn't coming with the same kind of level of risk. And it was sad, man, because you see that first round Derek Brunson and you're like, that's the blonde Brunson that we've seen. That's the blonde Brunson that beat, you know, these tough guys, that beat Till, that beat Shabazian. Where the fuck is that guy? That guy almost won the round. Almost won the fight in the first round. And then it's just like he was tired and you could see it shifting. You could see the moment he looked like he didn't have the energy to commit to get the takedowns the way he needed to. It was like it was written all over his face, like, oh God, this is going to be bad.
Yeah.
And the striking looked terrible. I mean, he's never been the cleanest striker and he's always set it up with his wrestling. But it just looked like there was, even in the first round, it didn't look like there was anything behind anything. And you're like, this is a guy you won 5 fights in a row in first round knockout.
I feel some of those, he shouldn't have had some of those. Not in terms of he didn't knock them out, just in terms of like they shouldn't have been there. I felt like that was kind of flattered him a little bit. I've never really considered him a knockout artist despite his record.
No, but man, the power's
bad
there.
Fucking night for Sanford. Yeah, the power's there, but the power's there for a lot of people. It's not always how hard you hit him, but it's like how clean you hit him. And it's the shots that you don't see or that you're already off balance for or that you're moving the wrong way for that are going to have like the biggest effect. He has to get lucky to get those, and he has. He's caught people sleeping before.
Well, he got caught fucking sleeping in this fight. I mean, and listen, fair play to Cannonier because he's not a guy that talks a lot of shit. He's very much somebody that's about the martial arts. He wants to earn his way and get what's deserved and get what he should be getting. And I think he is. I think with Izzy beating Rob, he's the next guy. There's no question about it. Izzy's wanted to fight him for almost 2 years. So he's the guy, and he deserves to be the guy. Do I think he's going to win? No, probably not, because I've seen Izzy fight heavy-handed guys that don't implement wrestling, and it doesn't work out very well for them. I've seen Izzy fight guys that are shorter than him with a shorter reach, and it doesn't really work out very well for them. Do I think Cannonier is going to hit harder than the threat that Izzy had to deal with Jan Blachowicz? Fuck no. Absolutely fuck no. So I'll watch it and listen. He has got a puncher's chance without a shadow of a doubt. And the guy is tough. He is not easy to finish. He's certainly not going to be intimidated by anything that Izzy's throwing. Not when you've been at the fucking heavyweight division and light heavyweight division and fighting those fucking monsters with that power level. But I don't think he's going to be quick enough. And at 37, 38 years old, he's not young. 37. He's not going to get faster. You know, he's not going to get lighter on his feet.
Seems to pick up injuries here and there as well. You know, it's definitely breaking down on him.
And I kind of look at the Rob fight, and I know that he will say he's changed a lot and he's improved a lot. He went away after the Rob fight and he rebuilt himself and he worked on his holes and all this kind of stuff. Rob was kind of picking him apart in that fight pretty much throughout most of it. He was landing leg kicks, he was landing his jab when he wanted to, and he was moving, and Cannonier couldn't get set. And if Rob's going to do that to you, Izzy's going to do that to you.
Oh, for sure. He's getting his title shot, though. He's definitely going to lose. But, you know, shit, Pena beat Nunes. You know, Dillashaw beat Henan Barao back in the day. It happens. Fucking Sarah, GSP.
This is true.
Obviously, Chael never tapped. So, you know, that time that Silva lost.
You know what? We made that joke a lot. I will say this. That tap was on the absolute, like, it was a tap, but it's not like he was going like that. You know what I mean? It was like he tapped and then stopped himself and decided he could get out of it, but it was already too late.
Yeah, but he was in a triangle armbar where, oh shit, I think I'm trying to picture it now. It looks like he's tapping from the triangle, but I believe he later says like he never tapped. But whatever he didn't tap to was actually the armbar. And it's like, yeah, it was just so locked up. There was basically two submissions for one.
Well, listen, Silva's a beast. And if there's one, listen, Chael, as far as I'm concerned, was a champion. Because didn't he fight the champ at Strikeforce? And the champion missed weight, and then he beat him. But because the champ missed weight, the belt wasn't on the line. And it's just like one absolute, just like, it sums up Chael's career so beautifully. Because only Chael could actually win a championship fight and still not get the belt.
Yeah.
It's also worth mentioning that Chael Sonnen is... Nobody should be more happy about the fact that Anderson Silva got that armbar triangle than Chael Sonnen, because he fails a drug test like 3 days later. And people kind of forgave him, but they forgave him because he wasn't the champ. He'd lost. People felt like he got your comeuppance. Don't think he would have got the same kind of appreciation and second chances if he'd won. I think it would have changed the way people reacted to the doping. It's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point.
But look up. Was it the Paulo Filho fight?
Correct.
WEC.
He fought him twice.
Yeah.
He lost one, and then he beat him when the guy missed weight.
Yeah, by a little bit as well. 189 pounds. That's 4 over championship weight.
Yeah, sucks to be Chael, but he's landed on his feet.
Oh, he's just the fucking best.
Goddamn best.
All right. We've spent a fair bit of time.
We have.
So
I
assume everything at the start's probably going to make it into the show as well, right?
Yeah, I felt that was a nice little intro. Just pick the right moment to cap it. So let's talk about my least favorite human being in the UFC, Alexander Hernandez, who had the audacity to bitch and moan that he was initially on the prelims until other fights fell through. The audacity to bitch and moan. Well, you got your spot on the main card, Hernandez. And all that means is those extra few people got to see you get murdered. Absolutely murdered. Moicano murdered you so badly in that fight that he actually felt bad about it afterwards and tried to give you not one, but 2 different like motivational it's okay talks as you're lying there miserable, knocked out, subbed in your own goddamn home state where you were still booed. You were still booed in your home state. Literally, if your own fucking fans aren't going to support you over a Brazilian, how the fuck is anybody else? That's enough of Alexander Hernandez. Moicano is looking good at lightweight.
Yeah, very, very classy as well. I like what he did at the end. And man, he's never happy. He came out and said he's not happy with his performance. Was it Moicano that had the was it his debut when he submitted the guy and he was like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done it so quick," or "I wish I had done it so
Wasn't
quick."
his debut? You mean his lightweight debut?
Shit, I can't. No,
No, that was a few fights ago. That wasn't that long ago.
Was Moicano on the wrong end of it then?
No. Moicano won that fight. I think that was either his last featherweight fight, or maybe it was his first lightweight fight, or a second lightweight fight. I can't remember.
Yeah. It was Damir Hadzovic. Yeah,
that's the one.
And he's like, "Well, shouldn't have done it then, mate. Shouldn't have submitted me. Like, oh, I should have done it so quick." There's a lot of anger coming into that fight, and he really wanted to fuck him up.
Yeah, but Moicano is a chill dude, man. He loves to scrap. I think the one thing I'd say, particularly after the Fiziev fight, is I think he's embracing his jiu-jitsu a lot more. Like, he's a guy that likes to get caught in kind of, standing and trading. And that kind of bit him the wrong end with Fiziev. So it's nice to see him mixing it together. And to quote the man himself, he's just like, "Hey, rear naked choke, man. It's just the fundamentals. That's what I do. It's the most basic first thing that you learn in jiu-jitsu class. And I'm just really good at it." And I love those guys where they're not trying to do anything fancy. It's not 10th planet jiu-jitsu. It's just pure dedication to the basics, the fundamentals. And at this level, more often than not, they're going to work.
Yeah, especially when the guy you're going up against really isn't that good.
Nah. It's not just that he's not good, it's that his view of himself is so drastically different from what's actually going on. Not just in terms of his ability, but in terms of his appeal, the amount of attitude he can have and get away with it. I just think he's doing everything wrong, Hernandez, at the moment. And this goes all the way back to when he fought Cowboy Cerrone. I think the worst thing that ever happened to him was knocking Dariush out in 18 seconds or 45 seconds or whatever it was.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You need a spotless record to carry an ego that big.
You need to back it up, man. That's the thing. It's all if he goes out there and he knocks out Moicano in the first round convincingly, yeah, you have every right to go in and say, "I told you I should have been on this main card. This is my place," and all the rest. But you're saying this like he was on a 2-fight winning streak before this, all unranked guys, nobody that's particularly well established. He'd lost to Drew Dober, who's a good fighter, don't get me wrong, but again, not ranked. The Cowboy Cerrone loss was emphatic after you talked a lot of shit. He had a really bad win over Francisco Trinaldo that a lot of people... It wasn't an impressive performance by any stretch of the imagination. So, it's not... You're not looking at this the right way. You gotta have the shit there.
By the way, it was no streak. It was just one win. Before he beat Breeden, he lost to Thiago Moises.
And he lost to Thiago Moises, that's correct.
Yeah.
So you're talking all this shit, and really all I'm saying is every time you've been given anybody in that next level, you've come up emphatically short.
Yep. God loves a trier, but Moicano was always going to be an awful matchup. His striking's not great, but he has a really long jab. He's very good with. And to be honest, you have to be pretty fucking special on the feet to knock out Moicano. He doesn't give it up cheaply. So yeah, pretty much just business as usual. But this is exactly how I thought it was going to play out. How we all thought it was going to play out. Alexander the Great, Hernandez kind of sucks. Moicano is underrated.
Well, he's starting to really establish himself at lightweight and smashed the post-fight interview as well. Super nice guy, really easy to root for. Let's see what's next. Talking about guys that have outstanding jabs. Did anyone get more love on Saturday night than Bobby Green?
And deservedly so. Man, yeah.
That was on paper a really hard fight, and he made Haqparast look pretty fucking ordinary, to be honest.
Yeah, made him look very slow. I mean, don't get me wrong, he caught him with some shots here or there, but man, Bobby was just streets ahead. You don't watch Community, do you?
Yeah, I've seen the first So I watched Community all the way back in like 2010, 2009. But
in the end.
it was when Dan Harmon left and the show just completely tanked. That's when I ended it basically, and I never watched it when it got greenlit on Hulu or whatever it was for the last season or the 2 seasons when he came back.
Yeah, last two. Might have been Hulu. I think it might have been Netflix. I'm not.
I think it was.
No. It was like. Fuck. No. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The point is, Bobby Green was streets ahead. Glad I said it.
He's really good, man. I want to see him fight that next level guy. Give him someone that's going to get him ranked because he deserved it. And as for Hack Press, I just think his tactics were all wrong, man. The high guard, Bobby was just piercing through that every time he wanted to. Maybe he'd have to use one jab to kind of break and create a hole, but then it was always followed up. Straight shots, rounding it up well. I mean, he's not a finisher, but he's a fucking impressive decision fighter. And he doesn't... I think the big difference with him now compared to when he first came into the UFC is he might be fighting to win on points, but he's leaving very little doubt in people's minds when he's winning these fights.
Yeah, for sure. And he take out the 2 fight skids, Fiziev and Thiago Moises again. Those boys win some good fights. That's 5 wins. So 5 out of his last 7, and against some good fucking guys: Clay Guida, Lando Venata, Ally Quinta. Hack Parast is really not as bad as Bobby made him look. Shit. And also, yeah, he needs a big step up now.
Also, if you look at, for example, the Fiziev fight, no one came away after that 3rd round thinking that we were looking at 2 fighters that weren't in the same kind of bracket of ability.
Yeah.
If anything, I think that a 5-round fight, if that was ever to be a rematch, would heavily favor Bobby. So there's big question marks there. The Moises fight, if you recall, he had fought... It was his 5th fight in less than a year's time. And even in the previous 2, he won, but he was kind of coming out afterwards being like, I wasn't quite myself. I didn't really feel like I was having it there. So I kind of feel by the time he got to Thiago Moises, he just pushed it a bit too much.
Yeah. It was 5th in a 12-month span, 4th for the calendar year. And like I say, go Clay Guida, Lando Venata, Alan Patrick's not like a huge name or anything, but still, this is a busy fucking year. Opening it up with a loss to Francisco Trinaldo as well. So that is a lot of work. That is a lot of work. All of them decisions. That's a lot of minutes in 1 year.
So I think the Moises fight, I'd be curious to see how that fight went as a rematch. I would be. So, full respect to Bobby Green. Hack Prest was a bit off even in fight week. He seemed convinced that Bobby Green was just going to try and wrestle him. I was like, you are not looking at the right fucking guy here, man. Like, what? You think you're going to turn him into a wrestler when Fiziev didn't? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, mate? Like, have you seen this guy? Have you seen how fucking good he is?
Yeah, be glad he doesn't. He is a better wrestler than you. This was an easy fight to pick, fun fight to watch. I didn't think it was going to be that big a gap between the 2 guys, but Bobby Green really had his night.
Well, he certainly did, mate. It was his night all the way through. He should move to Texas, as they said on the broadcasting team. Right. Yeah. Prelims, we'll go through these a bit more quickly. Arlovsky, ageless, keeps doing it. Obviously not the same fighter as he used to be, but Van der Aar had nothing to offer him. What is he, 43 years old? Arlovsky, 44?
Yeah, 43.
43.
Well done.
With 23 years as an MMA professional across having fought in 4 different decades. So we've spoken about this guy a lot on the show already. Van der Aar, he tried. He's just... Arlovsky's still really quick and he's technical and he knows how to avoid damage. and he knows how to keep the fight at his pace. And I think Vanderer just fell into those traps, man. He fell into those veteran traps.
Yeah, and Arlovsky's pretty much really made his money. This guy still loves doing it. And like he never really got out of second gear. It's just cruise control the whole way. Just a very nice, easy, tidy win for a guy that really just keeps rolling about the years, like you said. Fuck it, I don't want to talk about Van der Rijn anymore at all.
No, let's talk about Roxanne. Let's talk about Casey, because it was Roxanne's retirement fight. She lost. Pretty clearly she lost, although one judge really seemed to be a massive Roxy fan and just, god damn it, wanted to give her that goodbye win. The look on Casey O'Neill's face when the first judge said that, and she's not even angry. She's just looking around just like, what the fuck did you just watch, mate? But man, she might have lost, and she might have lost pretty clearly, but still trading, still going at it, still fearless, still doing everything that she can to win, and
made it a competitive fight.
Making a competitive fight out of someone who is young, hungry, on a rocket ship up through this weight class, its rankings right now, with the tenacity and that edge, that little bit of meanness. You know, she wasn't there to shake your hand and clap you off into retirement. She was there to get her win. And she got the win, man. She was upset at the booze, and I can understand it. And I kind of love the fact that she just completely leaned into it. It's just like, you want me to be the bad guy? I'll be the fucking bad guy. Fuck you. Love the idea, love the kind of the intention there, but I think sometimes you just got to understand, like, Texas is a rowdy crowd. They're going to be a little bit unfair. They're going to pick...
This crowd sucked.
Oh, this crowd, mate. Texas crowds always fucking suck,
crowd.
dude.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah,
I was amazed that they gave Tuivasa a cheer at the end of that fight, and half of that was only because he did the fucking shoey. Exactly.
I don't care how he wins, just what he drinks and how what he drinks out of at the end. It's a very fickle, shit, uneducated crowd.
And dude, they had no right to boo Casey O'Neill. You can cheer both women there, and you can understand that Roxy's going to get her moment on the mic, that you can all give her love and cheer. Casey deserved your respect at the very least. And it's like, I'm really sorry, but what fight were you watching? Like, even this happened in the main event as well. It's like, okay, some people might have thought Rob maybe won, but it's not like you were looking at that going, I can't believe they've gone in that direction. It wasn't a booable decision. What I would say to Casey is sometimes you just got to understand that, like, sometimes you get a shit crowd, man. Sometimes it doesn't matter what you do, how great you are. The dice is just set in a certain way that the storyline and the narrative is really about the other guy. And it happens. It happens all the time. And often with MMA retirement fights, they don't get won by the person who's retiring. There's a reason that they're retiring. There's a reason they're stepping away from this stuff. So you don't really quite often get that ride into the sunset on a win. And that's okay. Those ladies had a great fight. Roxanne has already proved everything she needed to prove. Certainly didn't go out in any disgraceful manner. And Casey O'Neill proved that she can answer that same question that people like Andrea Lee have struggled with, that people like Macy Barber weren't able to get past. Can you deal with what Roxy's going to offer? And she did, man. And
this was a good Roxy performance as well.
She didn't give a fuck.
Good fight.
She was going for it. I was promised 3 special attacks, though, and I feel like she kind of only did 1, and it was a spinning back fist, which isn't that impressive. So I'm let down, Roxy. I thought you said you've been training these 3 attacks your whole life, and they were all coming out. I did not see them.
I told you that wasn't going to happen.
Well, she can ride off and have retirement. Now, what's she going to do? I imagine she's still going to train and coach, or...
I don't know. It would be cool if she got like a bit of a media gig. I remember she wrote like a series of articles for Bloody Elbow that were pretty cool.
Please let her do like a schmo style interview thing for the UFC.
Yeah, well, what about doing some work with like Invicta or over in Japan? There's a lot of places that would benefit from landing a veteran like Modafferi.
Well, I'll say this: if you wanted an MMA spokeswoman who is going to give every impression that you want to sell of what modern female MMA looks like, you can't find a better spokesperson and a better head of that than Roxanne. You can't find somebody that will do a better job of breaking misconceptions and stereotypes and positively representing what MMA really is all about and what women can do in the sport.
I think Roxanne is who Sam Alvey aspires to be. Like, he says everything she says, but when she says it, I believe it. When he says it, I'm like, that's really corny. You got a lot of kids.
That's because Sam Alvey, although there might be elements of his personality that come out in the Smiling Sam Alvey character, he's clearly taken these elements and exaggerated them to a cartoonish proportion in order to have some kind of like gimmick that keeps him memorable with fight fans. Roxy is genuinely herself, and that's why people like her.
Yeah, I fucking love Roxy. Kate was absolutely gutted.
I know, but listen, Casey's.
I think we all knew she was going to lose.
And Casey's.
Apart from that one judge.
Like I say, man, Casey wasn't there to be anybody else's happy retirement fight. She was there to take a scalp and a good name to have on your record and jump over a potential booby trap and move on to the real meaningful part of the division.
Yeah, by the way, just real quick, did you see the MMA scalp from this week?
What?
I saw it posted online a couple of different places, but a regional amateur MMA fighter, or maybe a young pro fighter, but first sort of 30-40 seconds of their fight goes down against the edge of the cage door and actually gashes his head, like, I don't know, like 8 inches, like scalp's like peeled back, and still carries on fighting, but the ref's like, no, that's over. And not only do they give it to the other guy as a TKO, which is bullshit, but they carried on, like they didn't admit fault for anything. They said they inspected the cage and everything, and they think everything's absolutely fine. I've seen the picture. It's bad. It's not like tearing it or something along the padding. It's a fucking gash. They went on and did all the fights for the rest of the event after that in the same cage. Just absolutely ludicrous. But you should go seek that out online.
I will look for that. Out of curiosity,
because we're going to comment this week, I'll try and link it in the comments if I remember to do that.
Did you bring that up because you want to talk about the Jeremiah Wells Blood Diamond fight?
No, it's because you said scout, and it just like all I could see was all that blood. But actually, less blood than you'd think. You see a lot of, like, I don't know, skull.
Makes it so much worse, man. Makes it so much worse. You know, I don't want to see white. I want to see red. You start seeing white with a cut, something's gone horribly wrong.
I'll link it in the comments, and then underneath that, I'll do a link for Blue Waffle too. Just get it all out.
Don't click on that link, guys. Do not click on any link that has the words blue and waffle mixed together. You will not like what you see. I'm a little... Yeah, okay. Let's get back to the fights. Kyla Phillips versus Marcelo Rojo. I was very tired when the fights were on, and I needed to have a sleep to get to the main card. And so I had a sleep during Kyla Phillips and Marcelo Rojo. I saw how it ended. I just didn't see anything that happened until that point.
Big mistake. Rojo, looked lively, looked like he was doing, as advertised what he can do. But Kyla Phillips, again, just streets ahead. Yeah, he was just one step ahead the whole fight. Really good. Had to show a bit of resilience here and there when Rojo did land, because, that boy's got some fire in his hands. But overall, just really, really strong performance from Phillips. Way more kind of well-rounded, growing in the takedowns. setting up the. Did you see the setup for the submission, or just
I did not know.
Almost Habib-esque, except he was fully mounted when he did it. Just starts wrapping his legs around, and at one point I even think Rojo's all the way out, but he kind of uses that transition moment to actually switch from the triangle to the triangle armbar, and just really slick stuff from the Matrix. Bantamweight is a fun fucking division.
Certainly is. Carlos Ulberg versus Fabio Cherant. I slept through this fight as well, but it sounds like all I needed to do if I wanted to get to sleep was watch this fight.
I don't know if we've already broken this down in the intro that we're going to stick in, but
we kind of did, but
I can't remember. We'll do it again anyway, just super quick. After the Kennedy and Chechukwu fight, Ulberg, you wanted to see him bounce back with a bit more kind of patience without being gun shy, and that's exactly what you got. Just a very measured approach, pieced them up on the feet, kept the distance. Crowd booed the shit out of this fight. Fuck that crowd.
Yeah, crowd sucks.
But good to see Ulberg get his first UFC win, and I don't know what this kid's going to look like when he comes up against a stiff test, but shit, I think he's got some talent as a striker. He's a fun guy to watch. But fucking, what's this fifth fight? How much of that is going to be in the intro? Damn. I should start writing down what we talked about. But if we haven't, we'll circle back around real quick. Some guys and girls get into the UFC a little too young, and frankly, there are other organizations better suited for serious paydays early on in your career. I hope Carlos Ulberg doesn't end up making a mistake signing with the UFC too early.
Well, we're going to find out with time. Fabio Cherant, I think, is going to be on his way out, a guy that's already made that mistake, unfortunately.
Wasn't even going to talk about him.
Well, let's move on. Early prelims. Okay, swear to God, last fight that I slept through, that I fell asleep for, but Ronnie Lawrence taking on Mana Martinez.
Man, Ronnie Lawrence is the heat for a reason. This was Mana Martinez basically got beat down for 2 rounds and then came out like he wasn't going to accept that. He was going to really fucking just take it to Ronnie Lawrence. Had Ronnie Lawrence in trouble. Ronnie Lawrence toughs it out, gets the takedown he needs, and he has good performance. Again, bantamweight, fun fucking division.
AJ Dobson versus Malkoun.
The one who lost me the pigs.
I was so happy when this one happened because I knew that it was all going to come down to this. Wait, because we were different on 3, were we not?
Yeah, but we'd split the first 2.
We'd split the first 2, that's right.
That we picked.
That's right.
You picked up Grishin, who I thought was too old to fight more than 1 round, but apparently Knight really, really was 240 pounds when he took this fight and just fucking killed himself. And the other one we split was Wells Blood Diamond. So yeah.
Well, we'll talk about those fights in a sec, but Malkoun just put the pressure on Dobson, man. He couldn't get away from that guy.
No, I that first round, Dobson was looking good, and I thought maybe Malkoun's not quite big enough or strong enough for this division. And then round 2, I just forget about everything. I just thought this guy is, as soon as he gets that wrist control, as soon as he kind of pins you down, you're fucking down.
Well, it took him.
I thought he might be a bit undersized, but I was so wrong. That body's deceptive.
What did it take him? Like 4.5 minutes to get the first takedown in the first round, and then about 20 seconds to get the takedown in the second round. And you could kind of feel that was, he just needed to get that one. And I think the will was a little broken.
I was worried because he was kind of wasting a lot of energy picking Dobson up and not wanting to kind of go for a sacrifice throw or anything, kind of trying to be too sort of conservative on the takedown attempts in the first round. And I thought, that's a mistake. You're wasting a lot of energy there and you've lost this round. And again, just round 2, shut up, Josh. You don't know this kid. He's goes for days, apparently.
I think he just made that decision that this is tiring for me, but it's just as tiring for Dobson. And I'm going to back that Dobson breaks first.
I think it was like the first 2 takedown attempts. He didn't even make him work. It was just picked him up, decided he wasn't going to be able to kind of get him cleanly down. He was balancing on one leg a little too well and hopping about, and then kind of just let him go back to the.
Well, I thought when he was being lifted up, Dobson was putting his hands up and pushing the hand back down so that he could reestablish his balance.
A little bit. He was fighting in a very risky way. It was that kind of last chance saloon takedown defense where you're like, oh shit, I forget about my stance. I just need to like balance well on one leg here and just hope that I don't fall like on my back and I can get my feet back down under me. And, you know, Malkoun kind of didn't want to risk it and let him kind of come down again. But I thought once he had his hands connected both times, that was it. Dobson was going down. This wasn't going to go well. And he kind of got out to, two that really should have put him on his back. And then it didn't matter after that. Malkoun it was like two different fighters came out for the second round. You know, the end of that first round definitely was like wind in the sails of Malkoun and just completely mentally broke Dobson in terms of his takedown defense because he flattered to deceive a little bit with the stats early on in that round. And then at the end, it's like, nah, I know who you are. You've been found out. You just got lucky there. I don't know really what happened.
Well, he certainly put the decider on it.
Yeah.
And hell, it doesn't surprise me that Whitaker's wrestling's improved so much if he's having to roll with that guy on a daily basis.
For sure. You know, we are totally dwelling on the wrong fight, though.
I know, man. Fucking... Okay, so Jeremiah Wells, really, really impressive. Obviously, once he was able to get on top of Blood Diamonds, he just never really let the guy go. But what the fuck was the start? Because when you were talking about the guy gashed his head on the fucking cage, Jeremiah Wells almost dislocated his foot running around the edge of the cage. He was trying to do some weird kind of like running start and then got his foot wedged, which led to Blood Diamond running across, sensing a moment that kind of led to basically what the fight was, which was Jeremiah Wells attached to Blood Diamond at all times.
Yeah, shit. I thought wasn't the have we skipped the Andrade fight?
Oh fuck, we have as well. Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Let's do this one right. Because I was thinking like, oh, we've taken so much time up today, and I definitely wanted to talk about Douglas. And then I thought I'd set it up with dwelling on the wrong fight, and then we skipped it.
My apologies.
Let's just cap off Wells against Blood Diamond. Yeah. Less said about the start, the better. But yeah, once he went hip to hip, had his like back standing and then down, it was just he was glued to him. Didn't look good. I think, yeah, at this point, I'm thinking I'm one down to you on the three that we split on the picks. I needed this win. I didn't question it too much. I was just like, okay, good.
That got it.
Back to 500, 1-1.
Blood Diamond he never had that second to just compose himself and get him into the fight. I think that was a big issue. And he'll be better in the next fight. I really do. I think he'll improve.
Hard to judge him on this one.
You can't judge it by that point. Without, like you say, I think his takedown defense is probably better than that. But he just never had that moment to just be in the cage and just be used to it and settle and feel comfortable in any way, shape, or form. Before he knew it, the whole fight was just fucking... God, what's his name? Wells, just on him. Didn't give him any room. Now let's talk about Andrade. This fight was over first round. By every metric, you're just like, he's done. He can't deal with him on the ground. He's been rocked twice. He seems to be hurt and wobbled every time Morozov connects. And then, I mean, this is a bit of a theme of the prelims, man. It's a different fight second round.
Yeah, I mean, Douglas Silva and Andrade, I've never seen him quit on a fight, and I've seen him knock out too many people now to ever think that he's truly out of the fight. Obviously, this one was a submission, but it was like he knocked him out, woke him up, and put him back to sleep. You know, this guy has finished 20 of 22 wins, which at 135 is kind of special. Shit, I mean, honestly, that kind of finish rate at any weight class is freakishly special. But I think it's like 2 submissions and the rest are all knockouts. You know, that's like John Lineker numbers. I fucking love this guy. Is he technically the best fighter? No. I always get a little excited about him fighting. I prefer it when he does it with the mohawk. I don't know why that means anything to me, but kind of does. It's just the best. What was it? Three knockdowns in that second round. That's how you bounce back from a shit round.
Yeah.
You know, this
Well,
fucking guy.
he had a different mentality. He just came out like, okay, that went as bad as it could possibly go. I'm going to be me. I'm just going to get in his face and I'm going to show him that I can hit hard as well. And he fucking can, man. I don't know. Other people are saying, I've read a few people online saying, oh, Morozov got tired. But it's like, I don't know about that, man. I just think that, I mean, look at Andrade. He's got muscles on muscles. The guy's a fucking pocket Power Ranger. He explodes. And as soon as he came out with that different mindset, it was just, he was looking for blood. He caused it, he smelt it, and he went in for the finish.
Yeah, this guy knows how to win the fight.
And mate,
and I'm glad he got the bonus as well.
Yeah. I was happy about that. I kind of thought maybe they'd go in the Bobby Green direction with that, but
is what it is. Yeah, this will got a fight of the night, which I think is fair, given how fucking exciting it was. Bobby Green loses out because in the end they went Cannonier and Tuivasa.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Even though I think personally Bobby Green's performance is better than Cannonier's, you know, they're not going to give a decision over a knockout very often.
Very true. I was talking for fight of the night.
Cash.
I was talking for fight of the night. But actually, you made the point that it was a bit too one-sided.
Yeah.
So, is what it is. Fucking good card, all in all, man. And was a great little weekend of sport because I got to stay up late with my little sleep for a couple of the fights on Saturday night. And then have Monday off work so that I could enjoy the Super Bowl. Did you, in the end, set your alarm to wake up and watch it?
No, I was going to do that for the pay-per-view and then stay up for the Super Bowl. But no, I ended up staying awake all the way through to the Allberg fight, getting up way too early, and then watching the whole thing back Sunday morning. So I fell asleep after, I think, the first Rams touchdown, Cooper Kupp, right? So it was after I think Bengals turn it over on downs, and then the Rams score. Have I got that right?
Yeah, it was OBJ. It was OBJ who got the touchdown.
OBJ. Okay, yeah.
Before he tore his ACL.
Fell asleep around about that time. So obviously I know the Rams won. They had to fight back against the Bengals. Bengals, I believe, are the first team ever to have a +2 turnover differential and losing the Super Bowl. Absolutely gutting.
The Rams were the better team, man. Like, there were the 2 turnovers, yes, but really, the Rams were playing better. They lose. OBJ were already kind of quite short on weapons, and that really sort of meant that Cooper Kupp was just getting doubled, and they weren't really able to run the ball very well. But pretty much most of the Bengals offense, all of the Bengals offense came in the second half from their first play in the third quarter, where they just put a ball up to Higgins. As he's running through, he just grabs Jalen Ramsey's face masks, gives it the biggest fucking tug to one side, and then pulls it back down. Ramsey hits the floor, stands up, isn't even considering the possibility that multiple flags have not been thrown, and then has to stand around and realize that no flags are getting thrown. It's a touchdown. And then literally on the Rams' first play of the third quarter, they then throw an interception. So started really badly. It then looked pretty bad because there was a point where they've already lost. They were down 2 tight ends and no OBJ. And then Stafford goes onto the treatment table. And there I am at 3 a.m. thinking, they're fucked. They're down. They haven't got their quarterback. They're not going to win this game. And then Joe Burrow's knee gets fucked. And then you're thinking, oh, okay, this just all switched around a little bit. But game came down to a 16-play drive, right down to only a minute on the clock that they score in. I mean, what else can you say? Stafford got his Super Bowl, proved his worth, got the game-winning drive, and then Aaron Donald got the game-clinching stop on Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And they were trying
Drop
to make
the
their final
Philly
drive.
special, though.
They did. It did not work out well. As it turns out, Stafford is the best person to pass the football on the team, which is why he's the quarterback. But I'll tell you who did get a passing touchdown that wasn't a quarterback was the fucking Bengals guy. Is it Joe Mixon?
Oh, yeah, the running back. Yeah, Joe Mixon.
He threw the same number of touchdowns in the Super Bowl as Joe Burrow. How about that?
That's something.
Good game, man. There's all these rumors now that half of the Rams team is all going to retire, which kind of sucks for their fans. They get this great moment of we're the champions, and then what do you mean Aaron Donald's retiring? He was one of the players that we don't lose as a free agent. Well, not just that, but they're already losing a bunch of players to free agency. He was meant to be one of the guys that they've just got as the Rock. And there's even talk of Sean McVay wanting to retire as a coach.
Well, this is what they want. This is what they built. They sold the house to get this one shot at glory. It's paid off. So, you know, same as anything, but it's truer than ever with MMA and American football. It's like the longer you play, the worse you're going to be. You know, really takes the retirement, really diminishes your quality of life, particularly as you go on. Shit, if you've done everything you want to do, you don't need to stick around for no reason at all. In fact, it's actually a really cool thing in that Tom Brady documentary, Man in the Arena. They have Michael Strahan kind of giving his side of the year that they lost to the Giants with the helmet catch. And Strahan saying, you know, I was going to retire that year. I held out because I threatened to retire because I didn't want to go to training camp. I thought, shit, you know, we might make the playoffs. Fuck it. One last hurrah. But, you know, very much kind of got one foot out the door. And then goes on and wins the fucking Super Bowl.
Well, fucking who's the safety?
Giants team.
Eric Weddle had been retired for 3 years, came out to fill in the safety spot after they had a serious injury, gets a Super Bowl. It's a funny old sport. But you're right, man. They made the decision. They sold the house. They wanted to get that one day of glory. You know, in terms of those saying that the longer you play, the more damage it gets and it can affect your quality of life. The one player that is certainly not true for, who I think, even though he's on the losing team, definitely had the most amount of fun of anybody on Super Bowl day during the game, which is the kicker for the Bengals, this kid called McPherson. He's got fucking balls of steel. In the 2 games when he was to get into the Super Bowl in the AFC Championship game, and it came down to his foot being kicked, before he kicked the ball for the field goal, he just walked around in both hands and tapped everyone's shoulder and said, "Guys, we're going to the Super Bowl. I'm gonna make this kick. What are you guys even worried about? I'm gonna make this kick and we're gonna go to the Super Bowl." So before the Super Bowl, he was just walking around chatting to everybody. And even the reporters were just like, we didn't think it was him because we couldn't understand how anybody could be that relaxed before they play a Super Bowl game. And his answer was just like, dude, I kicked the ball, man. I've got this and I'm great at kicking the ball. I don't need to worry about the team meetings. I'm not even going to be in there for halftime. Like, what do you mean? It's just like, yeah, I'm not going to stick around in a meeting that I've got nothing to do with. I'm going to smash my kicks. It's not even a question. So I'm just going to watch the halftime show while everyone else is having their team talk at halftime. And then after the halftime show, it cuts to him, the only guy on his team there, sitting on the bench, just sitting like this, just like selfieing himself. He's on his phone. He's like, big grin on his face. He just looked like a guy that loved every single day of that, apart from when he lost.
Well, when you're making your kicks.
Made his kicks.
Yeah. When you're making your kicks, that's very charming. When you're not making your kicks, Shit, what's his name? See, I was trying to find it. I think I've got it now. Yeah, that's it. Mike Vanderjagt, that old Colts kicker. Everyone fucking hated him. Peyton Manning hated him. Just a big mouth dickhead by the end. Because that's the thing, when you're making your kicks and you're going to the Pro Bowl and you're like the best kicker in the conference, hey, you could be confident. I don't think he is. Like, I think Vanderjagt's like 1 in a billion. I don't know how many more outspoken dickheads you're going to get at that position. But yeah, that's fucking cool though. Apart from like, you got to be a little more sad when your team lose, I guess. But
well, he wasn't looking delighted when the team lost. Like, all the things of him being happy is before the game, during the game, and then during the Super Bowl halftime show. And I kind of get it, man. I mean, what value is he going to have in the team talk? Right, guys, it's really important that we do all of this, this, and this during the times that you're not on the field. Right, does my job change? No, we're still going to ask you to kick a ball in the same way.
Yeah. Well, unless he's just there, like, guys, just get it over the halfway line and I'll make a kick.
Well, maybe that would have been more valuable. Maybe that's why the Rams won. Maybe their kicker gave some motivational fucking rousing speech, you know, harnessing the very energy of Al Pacino himself.
Well, on that first drive, do you go for it on 4th down?
No, I think that's a rookie coach move. I think he's nervous and he's trying to pump his chest and make a big boy decision. I think if you're confident and your defense is playing well, you kick the ball, you give them bad field position, and you trust your defense.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I don't think Zach Taylor's a great coach. I think he's a decent coach that struck the lottery. His team tanked. Nobody fucking talked about it because everyone was talking about the Dolphins tank that year, even though we won 3 more fucking games than you guys did, yet we're the villains. You got the quarterback, and you got a kid that can take you to the Super Bowl, getting sacked 260 times in the playoffs.
In the playoffs?
Oh, yeah, he got sacked something like, including the Super Bowl, he got sacked over 20 times in 3 games.
I don't know why. Sorry, I thought you said he got sacked 260 times in the playoffs, and I'm thinking,
I was exaggerating for comedic
Did he even get
effect.
that many snaps? I don't know. I'm a little tired. It's been a long day today for me.
So he was sacked.
I'm not with it. I was like, he's very lucky if he got 200 snaps in all of the playoffs. Getting
So
sacked 260 times would be evil.
He was sacked, I think, 9 times or 8 times by the Titans, 7 times by the Rams, and then a good 4 or 5 times by the Raiders. I think it's the most sacks that any quarterback's ever taken for a team that's reached the Super Bowl, which is...
I'm glad the Eagles usually have a good O-line.
Yeah. Well, they made that decision, man. They decided they wanted Jamar Chase. They wanted a weapon over a lineman. They went for him instead of Sewell or... who's the other guy that was in that? The guy that went to the Chargers. Can't fucking remember, but there were good linemen that they could have taken. They didn't. They got Chase, and he might have got them into the Super Bowl, but it ends up being the thing that kind of takes them out of it. And still, man, it's. I'll tell you where I don't think Zach Taylor's a good coach is that they have the ball with a minute and 20 seconds left after the Rams score in the 4th quarter, and they get a couple of first downs. They've got 2 timeouts, and they have a 2nd and 2. He calls some terrible play that forces Burrow to have to throw the ball. He then calls a running play on 3rd and 1, which gets red immediately and then forces them to have to use another of the timeouts instead of giving it 2 shots at the field. So I think there were mistakes that were made. Obviously, Sean McVay's a really good coach. He had the better team. We'll see. I think what's sad about this is I don't think the Bengals can get back there next year. You're not looking at the team going, that's a super team. You're looking at it going, you've got some amazing young players. You've got some really big talent in certain positions. But you had a lot of average guys that played out of their skin for the last 6 games of the season in the playoffs.
Who would be your sort of top teams in the AFC next season?
You got to still.
I know we haven't even gone through free agency yet,
but okay, Chiefs are still going to be awesome. The Bills are still going to be excellent. Patriots are going to be even more dangerous. You know, Mac Jones in the second year, more weapons around him, another draft, more chances for the young players to kind of learn under the Belichick system. I think the Titans won't be as good. I think the Ravens will be better. Like, you think what a dangerous team the Ravens are. And they didn't have Lamar Jackson for their last 9 games. Had pretty much all of their running backs go down with season-ending injuries before the season started. Injuries to defense, injuries to receivers. I think them fully fit would be a serious contender. Aside from that, I don't think the AFC South is going to be particularly competitive. But, you know, AFC West, man, the Raiders are going to be good. The Chargers are going to be good. I could see the Broncos being a lot better particularly if they get Rodgers. So
yeah, well, that's the thing. There's a couple of different quarterbacks from the NFC. Could find their way to the AFC.
NFC is going to be easy next year. You've got 2 whole divisions that are in complete rebuild mode. Every single team in the NFC North is rebuilding, and every single team in the NFC South is rebuilding.
And you could kind of say that about 3 teams in the NFC East.
Yeah. Although I'd say 4, because I think that the Cowboys are keeping a lot of the key components around, but I think they need to do a bit of soul searching as well, because that team should not have performed the way it did in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, they suck. Cowboys always doesn't matter what they do.
True. And you know everything's right in the universe when Spurs do Spurs and the Cowboys do a Cowboy. Makes me feel good about things. Free agency is going to be interesting.
Finally righted the ship.
Dolphins have assembled their coaching staff. We got some good people. Frank Smith is going to be our OC. We're keeping most of the defensive staff and the DC in place, which I'm a fan of. We've added Wes Walker and a couple of other guys for the skill positions. So it's time to find out and see. We got lots of free agency, cap space, money. Coach has got a good chance to sign some big players, still add a little bits here and there in the draft, and build a good team for his first season. I mean, for you guys, it's all about sticking with Hurts now, isn't it?
Hopefully. There's too many rumors flying around that we're going to trade away draft capital for Russell Wilson, which I don't see him agreeing to come to Philadelphia. But my point is, I worry that they wouldn't throw away draft picks for a veteran quarterback when really with our O-line and our run game, we should just invest on defense. Next season's very much still a continuation of the rebuild. It's the year after when we're going to have way more cap space. So, and the year after that. So we have the ability to kind of maneuver and do some things this year and next year, and it'd be fucking stupid to try and get that final piece into play too early when we can afford to be patient. The right option isn't out there right now. So yeah, I'd really be annoyed if we don't stick with Hurts next year, unless we get an absolute steal. You know, very much the same way that we robbed the Colts, sending Carson their way. You know, they're thinking about getting rid of Carson Wentz now.
Yep. Oh. I'm hearing that they're considering Jimmy Garoppolo. And you're in a sad state of affairs with your quarterback when you're deciding whether or not giving an extra first rounder for Jimmy Garoppolo would be an improvement over Carson Wentz, who you just traded a first, a second, and a third for, I want to say.
First and a third. It was a conditional first that could have been a second, but he met the criteria to bump up to a first. He had to play over 75% of their snaps, or 70 if they made the playoffs, which they didn't. But yeah, he cleared that 75% easily for us. We get a first round, 16th overall pick. Thank you very much. Bournemouth had a huge fucking comeback win. No, it was at one point it looked like it was going to be, but we have the 15th, the 16th, and the 19th.
Okay. Still pretty damn good.
Yeah, man.
What if they traded for Russell Wilson?
Comeback.
No, I don't like it. For Aaron Rodgers. What if it's Aaron Rodgers?
I still don't like it. we're not going to win a Super Bowl next year with a better quarterback.
Dude, anyone can win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but we didn't offload Rich Gannon, and although we played better in the second half of the season defensively, the truth is we played some really fucking shit teams for like 8 weeks in a row. And yeah, there were moments when they looked good against Brady, but it was when they were 2 touchdowns up and he'd taken his foot off the gas. And
true.
Look, we have a really good run game. We can let that be our identity for another season and have some success, or we could get really arrogant with it, be like, we made the playoffs in a rebuild year, and fucking blow what we don't. I don't even want to see what they'd have to do to the team to restructure the cap space to accommodate a guy like Aaron Rodgers. Next year, it doesn't make. There's so many reasons not to do it, but whoever we bring in, it should be with a view to being competitive across the next 2 to like 5 or 7 years. And even if Wilson plays to a ridiculously like long, like deep into his 40s and stays at a high level, I still don't know that that's really worth it. And because we haven't got that cap space, it means getting rid of guys and taking a financial hit in further seasons as well. It's just no. It's an awful idea, I think. We're up to being a really good team like 2023, 2024. And we've got an opportunity to really reinforce in the draft this year. We could definitely trade away for picks next year as well. Maybe look to get a quarterback the year after. But this year, the consensus is there's no one really worth it in the draft. Free agency is going to be too expensive, and it's not the right kind of age that we're looking for. We're not a win now, we're a win soon kind of team.
Well, also next year, the draft for quarterbacks is going to be deep. All the top college QBs at the moment, they're all hitting the draft next year, not this year. So that's going to be the market. So you give Hurts another year. You see if he can be the guy with more weapons around him, if the passing side of his game can improve. And then at least you can, and maybe you trade one of those first rounders back to next year. Give yourself an extra option. Or two.
Because we're in a position where it should just be best player available. We have glaring needs in the team, but it's more than one. And we're not picking them a top 10 or a top 5. A lot of these mid-round picks miss. We can pick the best. If the right player is available, we'll fucking take him. If someone drops that would be good for us, we'll take him. Otherwise, I want to see him trading away some of these picks, and definitely not trading them for fucking veteran quarterbacks. No, thank you, sir.
I get you. Should we touch on some MMA news before we call it quits for this episode?
Is there anything?
I don't really know. I haven't done a big deep dive. I know
Michael Chandler threw some shade at Izzy, but this is the side of Chandler I don't really like, so I don't feel the need to talk about it. Other than the scalping, I haven't really seen anything really cool pop up. But I did see a wonderful, magical Bournemouth moment where they came back from 0 down and went 2-1, having had a penalty saved earlier in the game against Blackpool, and Blackburn fucked up again. So we're starting to look pretty good in that second spot. I don't think anyone's catching Fulham, but up the cherries.
Get back
and then
into
you
the
don't
Premier
know to
League.
say it, but then the next person says in all departments, and that's how the UTCIAD does it.
Sorry, pal, not my style. But I'm glad that Bournemouth are doing well.
Don't meet a lot of Cherry fans.
Nah, sorry, pal.
It's not a lot of us.
I want to see them do well. I'm not a fan. No Arsenal over the weekend, although Wolves did us a big favour and beat Tottenham 3 days after we beat them. So phoned up my dad. I was just like, that's what I want to see from your team, man. Losing to the right side of North London, beating the bad side of North London. So that was pretty good. A little bit of news I just saw. Till wants to fight Sean Strickland in the summer. I think that would be a really fun fight, although I don't think that's a good bounce back fight for Darren Till. Although at the very least, you're not going to get taken down, so it won't be as bad as Brunson.
Yeah. I think out of all the kind of fights that are realistically available for him, I kind of like the Strickland fight. I mean, I don't know that Till's going to win it, but I just think with his limited skill set, that's really about as good as he can get right now.
True. I feel like a Hermanson would be a better matchup for Till right now. You still have to deal with grappling, but with...
I really don't know that for Till.
Well, we'll find out. Last thing, if for all Gina Carano and Donald Cowboy Cerrone fans out there, they have got a movie coming out that the trailer has been released for. It is a news from a news studio. I don't know if you know anything about the Daily Wire, which is sort of like Ben Shapiro's little YouTube think piece online editorial for conservative media. Apparently got sick of messages that they don't like in Hollywood movies. So they're now making their own movies that are without message, basically. Just what people want in films. And they've done 3 of these now, apparently. So one is just come out called Shut In, which I've read actually quite surprisingly good reviews for. So that's something. And Cowboy Cerrone and Gina Carano are in this old style Western thriller that's going to come out in the summer called Terror on the Prairie. And I don't know, man, it looks like a movie. You know, it looks like it's a professional movie. I don't know. It's the thing that's led to it is a little bit egotistical and, you know, part of this whole kind of like culture war thing that, you know, I don't really like the culture war on either side of the people that fight it, but fuck, if a good movie's a good movie and I like Gina Carano and she's getting work and she's good in it, I'm going to fucking watch it. And I've seen the trailer and it's kind of weird to see Cowboy Cerrone seem to have a fairly prominent role in the film as well.
Yeah. I'm just looking at little bits here or there. It looks like there's a legit budget. Maybe they moved in when Russ moved out. Is that too inappropriate?
Maybe they got the site on discount.
Yeah.
That's a fuck situation. I initially felt really bad for Alec Baldwin, and then I've read, and I still feel really bad about the situation, but I have read some of the things and what people are saying. It sounds like the whole way that production was being run was just a fucking joke. It was an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah. I don't know how much of that I blame directly on Alec Baldwin, though, particularly not the... It's like, okay, you get what you pay for, but when you pay for like an armorer who pays for ammunition for the film set, you really specifically hope that you got what you paid for. The last I heard, right, is that the less than experienced on the budget armorer, you know, attempted to get blanks only, and there shouldn't have been any live ammo on the site, but somehow some had slipped in. And it's just the fucking surreal kind of crazy accident where just human error and a bit of ignorance and naivety has just cost someone their life. But I stopped reading about it maybe like a couple months ago.
I've heard other actors say things as well, like, and I don't know if this was the production or this was the armorer, but just saying that, like, George Clooney was saying any movie he's ever worked on involving any forms of guns in any way, shape, or form, there's very universal kind of like procedure and terminology that you use for describing the guns and for classifying them and how you do things. And it just sounds like none of this production followed that. I think in regards to Alec Baldwin, what they were sort of saying is actors would know, like you with your experience of acting should have been aware of these things. So you should have known what's wrong. But to be honest, man, I was thinking about this. When was the last time he's been in a fucking action scene? Certainly not in terms of being a director or a producer on it. I know he's in the Mission Impossible films, but he was kind of the head in the Office character in that. You know, apart from the Hunt for Red October, and even that, he's playing Jack Ryan. Most of the movie is him trying to fucking interrogate Sean Connery's Russian commander. That was weird.
Does he even hold a gun in The Departed?
No.
Yeah. Is the other thing, the production manager actually said that it was a cold gun or cold weapon or whatever. Like there is no live ammo in this gun. I don't know if he ever fucking needs to pull the trigger, but I think they were trying to get a shot where he was kind of basically like looking down the camera, and then it's fucking crazy.
Tragic story, mate. Tragic story. Hate to leave things on a bad note, but
I love to. I'm hungry as well. So.
I think that's it for our show, guys. Smash the like and subscribe button. Tune in later on this week. We got UFC this week. Yeah, it's Walker versus Hill. So tune in for the pick show later this week. We've got a couple more weeks of it being without Slice, so just me and Josh. Let us know. Leave your comments in the section. Let us know how you did on your picks this week, and we'll be back later on. Bye, Dave. Bye, Laurie.
Bye, Laurie. Bye, Dave.